Alright, before we get anywhere, before we do anything, listen up. Before we dive into anything remotely productive, let's address the storm clouds of humanity that keep popping up in my feed like mould on bread. Yes, I'm talking about the trolls and the self-appointed critics who seem to have made it their life's mission to hurl insults at me, despite never ever having so much as ever shared a cup of coffee in my presence. Hi folks, how you doing? You good? Now, have you ever woken up and said, you know what, I think what I fancy is a great big bag of rage, a side of bitterness, and maybe I'll broadcast it on social media for breakfast. If so, congratulations. You've joined the ranks of the perpetually offended, clutching that metaphorical thundercloud in your back pocket like it's the only fashion accessory that ever matters. You're devoting your time, and let's be honest, precious energy, to picking fights with someone you've never met. I mean, it's like shouting at a random stranger on the street for breathing too loudly, except in digital form. Charming, isn't it? I mean, I get it. Don't get me wrong, I do. Negativity can feel like a warm blanket, albeit one covered in cactus spikes. But here's the kicker. You're the one itching. You're the one stuck watering the weeds. And I'm here with the proverbial lawnmower saying, take a look at what you're actually tending in your life's garden. Because, newsflash, the rest of us, we're growing actual flowers over here, not mutated, toxic kudzu. So grab your sense of humour, if you can find it under that pile of half-baked gripes, and settle in. Today's video is a fresh breeze blowing through the cobwebs of perpetual anger. And if you're one of those folks who just can't wait to throw another tantrum in the comments, don't worry, we see you. But maybe, just maybe, we'll catch a glimpse of how ridiculous this all is, and decide it's time to trade angry thundercloud for a dash of sunshine and love. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear, and let's begin. A simple, profound observation. Human beings are deeply flawed creatures. We can be so speculatory, incompetent at times. It's a small miracle we don't trip over our own shoelaces while trying to prove how brilliant we are. We struggle, we deceive ourselves, and we wrestle with the complexities of morality, relationships, and power. And among the many challenges we face, few are as insidious as dealing with narcissism, especially when it manifests in those closest to us. Narcissists thrive on conflict because conflict is their fuel. Think of them like the kind of party guest who only shows up to smash the pinata and then claims they're the victim of a flying candy shrapnel. Conflict is the oxygen that sustains their sense of superiority, control, and dominance over others. When you engage with direct confrontation with a narcissist, you're not shining on a spotlight on their wrongdoing. You're simply stepping into their game show where their prizes are rigged and the host greets you with a grin that says, thanks for playing, but I've already won. They're not interested in truth, fairness, or resolution. They're interested in winning, in maintaining their perceived power, and in keeping you emotionally invested in a battle that cannot be won. Not on rational terms, anyway. If you think that calling them out is going to make them see reason, that's about as likely as teaching a crocodile to enjoy tofu. Narcissists do not process accountability in the same way a reasonable person does. To them, every confrontation is just another episode of their personal reality show, where the rest of us are unwitting extras being set up to look foolish. For a narcissist, conflict is not a problem to be solved. It's a tool. It's a weapon of mass destruction. If they can keep you locked in a battle, they can keep feeding on your emotional energy you pour out like a medieval jester entertaining the court. It validates their image of being the grand puppet master, right down to tugging your emotional strings. This is why, no matter how solid your evidence or how pristine your moral reasoning, they'll still find a way to spin the story. They'll paint themselves as the poor victim of your vicious truths, leaving you feeling like you just kicked a puppy. When the reality is all you were trying to do is report a crime. And here's the kicker. When you call them out, you're handing them the brush and the fresh canvas on which they can paint you as the villain. They decide the choreography of their confrontation, the storyline, and the fallout. They rely on your emotional reaction. If they can get you angry, they'll play the saint. If they can get you to scream, they'll whisper sweet innocence. It's like being trapped in a carnival funhouse of mirrors. You're never quite sure if you're poking at your own reflection or a warped parody of it. They seek out arguments for one simple reason: it keeps the emotional atmosphere under their control. They'll say something inflammatory, accuse you of stealing the sunshine or the sky, or claim your good deeds were all part of a sinister plot. Anything to get you to spark off a reaction. And that moment you rise to debate, they've already won. They set the terms, you took them, and now the circus begins. Finally, and remember this crucial truth, narcissists do not argue to find resolution. They argue to dominate, to manipulate, and to extract that precious emotional energy from you. Engaging with them in a battle of wits is like bringing a love poem to a knife fight. You'll just end up badly cut, wondering why no one else appreciated the sentiment. So, step away from the ring, because with narcissists, the only winning move is not to play at all. That is the only winning move. And this is why people who've often dealt with narcissists often describe feeling exhausted, confused, and frankly, ready to start screaming at the inmate objects. Now, it's like you've been forced into an internal tennis match, except the narcissist replaces your racket with a fish. And instead of your fault, you can return their serve. No matter how many times you say, hang on, this is ridiculous. They'll keep swatting that fish in your face and asking you why you're so bad at tennis. They do this because they thrive on arguments that go nowhere. Kind of like people who leave 1-star Yelp reviews about the free bread in a restaurant. They never intended to solve anything. They just wanted the spotlight. Now, you could serve up the best logic known to humankind. They would still say, they'll still whine about the crust being too crusty. Then blame you for not baking it right, as if you were the head chef, as if it is your fault. And here's another twisted trick. They don't just argue to win. No, not just to argue to win. No. In the moment, they build a highlight reel of your every eye twitch and sigh of frustration, ready to replay it at the worst possible time. Like a friend who remembers every embarrassing story you've ever told them and picks your wedding day to recite them all over the microphone for everyone to hear. The narcissist's memory is magically selective. They collect your emotional meltdown like it's a final Pokemon card that they needed absolute gold in their twisted sense of power, which is why calling them out rarely works as you'd hope. Sure, you might imagine some dramatic Hollywood moment where they clutch their pearls and apologize for being self-absorbed gremlin, but in reality, it just fuels their script. They use your confrontation to claim you're the real villain in this place. It's like punching a jelly monster. You think you're making progress, but you're sinking deeper into their sticky mess. They distort reality so masterfully, it's almost commendable. Like watching a magician who can saw a person in half, then blame the audience for bleeding all over the stage. Sometimes I wish I had one of those, them big yellow sort of highly flammable stickers, and just stick them on certain trolls and call it a day. But alas, human beings aren't quite that simple. A bunch of you have asked, "Oi, mate, which personality type do these people belong to?" You know the ones. The ones that wake up, gargle nails, and then hurl insults at strangers on the internet. Yeah, we know the ones. Well, buckle up, because it's not quite so neat and tidy. There are 5 main personality types. We're going to go cover 3 of them now. First is like the highly neurotic, neuroticism, high neuroticism. Apparently, one of the big 3 personality models. And if you're this sort of person who thinks a mosquito buzzing by is a personal attack, you might be in the neuroticism transition. Your emotions are set to be fragile glass bauble. These folks get so riled up they'd probably start an argument with their own reflection if it winked at them in the wrong way. Narcissistic, then you've got the narcissistic or borderline traits. Then you've got the people who wake up thinking they're the centre of the universe and furious with the rest of us who don't greet them with the same parade every morning. Sure, narcissistic or borderline personality traits can breed unrelenting hostility, like a chihuahua that never stops yapping. But remember, probably leave it best from someone who can give a professional diagnosis. We can't just dole out the psychiatric labels like a free candy, can we? Though some trolls do munch on those labels as if they're lollipops. You then got the habitual negative triad thinking. The guy who thinks the sunshine is personally trying to blind him, or that your success is a cosmic conspiracy against his happiness. These folks are basically the BBC weather forecast for gloom and doom. No matter how the actual forecast is, they'll insist on thunderstorms. They're convinced every action from anyone else is all out assault on their precious worldview. So yeah, they're living in a lightning storm of their own creation, eternally on the lookout for some cosmic reason to be offended. If it gives them a sense of, it gives them a sense of purpose. If they can't be the hero of their story, then at least they'll be the villain in yours. But there's a catch. You can't just slap a single label on all of them like you must be a narcissistic or borderline personality type person, because that can be misguided. People are messy, they're glorious, contradictory, and often irrational. Maybe they had a bad childhood. Maybe their hamster gave them the stink eye one too many times. Point is, I have to keep telling myself that we're better off leaving these people to get a proper clinical diagnosis, rather than some people who insist on playing Dr. Facebook in the comments section. The other ones, you ever noticed the ones how some strangers who online act like they've got a personal vendetta with your very existence? I can relate to that. Yet they wouldn't know you from Adam if you passed them on the street. It's like getting caught in a sudden downpour when you're wearing your nicest shoes and you're thinking, seriously, who ordered this? But hey, guess what? You've got an umbrella, and it's called not letting their nonsense rule your life. First up, don't feed the fire. It's like dealing with a toddler's tantrum. Feeding them sweets only guarantees more ear-splitting shrieks. Same goes with trolls. They're basically overgrown children who've weaponized their keyboards. If it's safe, do yourself a favour. Don't respond. Nothing confuses a troll more than silence, and it's a lot less messy than trying to box with a ghost. Then fortify your boundaries. Look, we live at a time where you can block or mute someone quicker than they can say, get a life. So do it. Don't wait for them to send their entire manifesto. Hit the button and reclaim your peace, and spend your time on something more worthwhile, like figuring out who let the Kardashians keep renewing their TV contracts. I suppose you could document the hostile behaviour, because let's face it, half of these warriors of rage wouldn't say boo to a goose in person. Online though, they're like a caffeinated chihuahua. They keep your screenshots and keep timestamps. Think of it as like collecting Pokemon cards, except these ones might be used as evidence if they ever cross the legal lines. So you got to catch them all at it, right? You got to keep a record of it all. Next, seek support. If it's getting you down, seek support. Yeah, honestly, get a good friend if you've got one. A decent therapist, if not, or a cheerful dog can do wonders after you've scrolled through the thread of existential misery. Or if there's not a thread and they've got a group, block yourself from the group. It doesn't matter. Small-minded people will not, they'll listen. People who are wise will understand better. There's a whole wide world out there that doesn't revolve around calling you names on the internet. Shocking, I know, but trust me, it exists. And finally, I suppose, maintain inner poise. I know, it sounds like something you'd see on a motivational poster next to a dolphin, but it's true. Your self-worth isn't measured by how many barbs or a random troll can throw at you. It's measured by what you decide to do with it and what you decide to do with your time. And hopefully that's something more fulfilling than playing verbal ping pong with some keyboard warrior who probably thinks Wi-Fi is a basic human right. At the end of the day, you can't stop a downpour by yelling at the rain. You just deploy a metaphorical umbrella. Block, mute, gather your supporters, keep evidence. If it gets serious, of course, use it, and move on with your life. Let the bitter ones stew in their own misery. You've got better things to do, like binge watching your favourite show, or maybe, just maybe, doing something genuinely productive. Now, there's such a thought. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to write a strongly worded letter to the universe demanding an extra 2 hours of my life for each meltdown I've witnessed online. Wish me luck. I'm sure the cosmos is taking requests. Till next time.